to the Midland Moment podcast, the podcast dedicated to telling the story of Midland. I'm really excited about a special episode today. I'm your host, Jeremy Wilson. Today we have Mike Eichten. Mike serves as our board chair here at Midland, and he's served in that capacity for the past 6 years with 3 more to go, right, Mike?
That's right.
And so really excited to have Mike here to talk about why he became involved in Midland, what he's passionate about with Midland and where he sees Midland going. So, Mike, if you could just maybe introduce yourself to the people listening and maybe talk a little bit about your career and how that started to intersect with Midland and what caused you to join the board.
Sounds great, Jeremy. Well, my career has always been in the insurance field. And in fact, I've been a licensed agent in the state of Kansas since 1980. Ended up in a variety of management positions, and the last 9.5 years I was with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas, which is really what led me to Midland. I worked a lot with the senior markets for healthcare, and the leader of our foundation, Marlou Wagner, she suggested that I look at the Midland board because we had a nurse that had served 6 years on the Midland board, had a great experience, and felt like it would be fruitful to keep Blue Cross and Blue Shield involved in Midland care.
Yeah, and that's such a cool story, and it's one of the things for those of you that may not be as familiar with our board or a not-for-profit board in general. That board, we'll have Michael tell us a little bit more about the details, but it's great that we have such wonderful partners that then step up and give back through that board. And so, Mike, can you tell us a little bit more about? I know that you retired about a year ago.
Yes, a year ago, June.
That's been a transition. Mike and I actually got to spend about 8 hours in the car together over the past couple of days. So we got to converse about retirement and all of that. And it feels like Midland has been able to even become a bigger part of your life kind of through that as the board chair and with this transition into retirement. And what else do you have going on in your retirement years?
Oh, well, beyond the Midland board, I do serve on one other board, Sales and Marketing Executives of Topeka. I've been involved with them for over 30 years. But the majority of what I do is related to music. Approximately 12 and a half years ago, I decided that it was high time I learned how to play the guitar. It was something that I had wanted to do my entire life and just never really found the time. It just didn't really fit. Well, I ended up finding that the guitar was a great stress reliever. And so as I finished out a career as the director of sales at Blue Cross, I could spend a lot of time relaxing, just plucking away at the guitar, trying to figure that out, and figured perhaps I could use that music during my retirement years. Something to do, something to share with other people.
So with that music, for those of you that maybe have not been out to our celebration walk or some of our other events, you can usually find Mike here playing, as well as I know I've seen on Facebook Evergy Plaza recently, and he's played for our Pace Centers.
I have.
And what do you have a direction with that music that you're wanting that to go, and what you're doing with that? It seems like you have kind of geared into the genre that relates to some of our seniors and brings a lot of joy to them. We've seen you play Johnny Cash and several other things before.
Yeah, well, I actually have learned that combining music, especially nostalgic music, with a crowd, it resonates. There's something magic about music and going back in time, trying to, capture some really happy memories of the past. And I've also learned that we tend to like music, or I should say it this way, the music we like best tends to be what we listen to a lot during our teens or even into our 20s. And so when we can go back in time and listen to a song that was popular on the radio during that era, it gives our minds a shot of dopamine, which is a feel-good hormone. And the interesting thing about that is, Jeremy, as we age, our bodies naturally produce less dopamine. So it can lead to depression, or it can lead to just feeling a little bit blue. And it's amazing. You listen to a couple of songs that were popular when you were in your teens, it's like a shot of adrenaline. It's a feel-good hormone, and it just makes a person smile.
And I think that's so cool. And I know you and I have talked about even a veteran population and hospice population, dementia population that can all benefit from music therapy in ways that we can't even possibly comprehend sometimes. For those of you that would like to hear more from Mike's music side, we're going to put the link to his YouTube page in the description for this podcast, and also the web address that you can go and get more information, or if there's a desire to have Mike come and perform, that would be a great way to be able to get in contact with him. And such a cool thing to be able to cross, because it seems like Midland's events cross with you a lot from the music perspective. And Mike's always more than willing to come out and when we have pace appreciation events and those sorts of things, be some of the entertainment. To transition a little bit and kind of pivot a little bit, can you tell me, for people that maybe aren't as familiar with boards and what boards do for a not-for-profit organization, can you tell me a little bit about what the board at Midland does, what it's charged with, what its responsibilities are, and how that helps us complete our work?
Oh, I'm happy to. Well, I think first of all, it's important to understand that organizations, whether you're a for-profit corporation or you're a non-for-profit corporation, you need expert guidance from all walks of life. And the Midland board is a great representation of how that works. We have attorneys, we have medical professionals, we have people like myself that have more of a financial background or an insurance background. And what we're able to do is provide guidance to the leadership team here at Midland. We have expertise from other industries. And one particular example, though, is the need to raise funds, our capital campaigns. And it's instrumental that the board not only supports the campaigns, but also connects other donors to Midland Care. Because it's quite simply, it's important that if you understand the mission of an organization, you believe in its cause, you're far more likely to support it. So our board becomes ambassadors to the business community.
Yeah, and I think I've seen Mike in various ways, especially, when we go to evaluate benefits or go and looking at new programs and financial analysis of that. It's really nice to turn to him. I tell people all the time, in the medical field, we have our own kind of acronyms and vocabulary, and then you get to the health benefits or those sorts of things, it's a whole nother set. It may be the same letters, but it sure means a lot of different things, and it's really nice to be able to rely on that. And we really have a great board at Midland, and part to your leadership, it's been a wonderful experience to get to interact with them, and they do a great job both in leading the day-to-day and leading the charge for our capital campaigns as we continue to grow. And maybe just for those listening, can you tell them a little bit about what a capital campaign is, just from a basic standpoint, and then what kind of capital campaign we're in right now?
I think I'll talk about two, just real briefly. I want to talk about the improvements that were made to the hospice house here in Topeka, and the addition of our Westport facility for the PACE program. That required millions of dollars to, renovate a building. And so the capital campaign, which included some Midland staff, some development staff, as well as the board and a committee, we simply have to reach out to the business community, to other foundations, and individuals to seek donations. And in fact, Jeremy, you mentioned the 8 hours we spent together in the car. Well, we took a trip to Tulsa, and we met with a major foundation in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that has provided well over $1 million in support to Midland so far. And we have a request outstanding. Hopefully that goes through as planned, as we expand the PACE program over into the Overland Park area, Johnson County. It's important because, unfortunately, the PACE program is not easy to enter into, especially a startup. It takes a tremendous amount of capital. You're talking buildings, you're talking vehicles, you're talking equipment, and then people. That takes a lot of money. And so without some financial support from private donors and foundations, it would be nearly impossible to see success in a program like that.
Yeah, and that, like Mike mentioned, we got to spend a lot of time in the car discussing capital campaigns and everything in between, and got to present to a major foundation. And it's really a fun story to tell with Midland. I tell people all the time, Midland's probably one of the easiest places I've ever asked for money, because the purpose of it is so pure and is so good, and we enrich the lives of so many people, and the PACE program is definitely a big part of that. So you mentioned it a little bit, but could you tell me a little bit about what excites you most about the direction we're going, and what you see in the future for Midland?
At the core, it's increasing the number of seniors that we serve. And I've witnessed such tremendous growth in the last 6 years as a board member. We've seen the PACE program grow we have in excess of 500 that are being served by the PACE program. Emporia, Kansas has been a huge success. We've seen success in Lawrence. Topeka has probably more than doubled in size over the last several years. We have Kansas City, Kansas, and now to serve in Johnson County. That just excites me, because we should double the number of people that we serve in a fairly short period of time. Yeah,
and that for those of you not familiar with the PACE program, or it's called Program for All Inclusive Care of the Elderly, it's a great program that we run at Midland, and really are able to take patients that would normally be put into a nursing facility of some kind and keep them in their home. And we were awarded Johnson, Miami, and Franklin County by the state of Kansas. And that PACE center that we're building is going to be the core of those services in one of our branches. So anybody that would like to find out more information, we actually had an article in it in our annual report, which is up on our website. If you go to the About tab and then go to the annual report, you'll be able to click in and see both renderings and an article. And if you have more questions, I know Jennifer Friedley in our development department would be more than happy to answer those, and her email is in that article. So Mike, as we kind of come to the end of our little bit of time together, I always like to throw kind of a surprise question in for people, a more fun question, not about anything serious. And I'm really excited to hear your answer to this. So when you were a kid, what was your dream job? What did you want to do when you were a kid? Was it insurance salesman from the time you were little, or?
Far from it. I would say at the earliest age, my dream job was riding on the back of the garbage truck. I just thought that looked so cool to be able to hop up on a truck, grab onto a handle, and move on down the road to the next house. I thought that was the dream job. Now, a little later on, it was sports. I was absolutely a sports nut. So, I dreamed of being the next Jack Nicklaus or Arnold Palmer. Those were a couple of my childhood heroes. No, insurance. I didn't even understand what insurance was when I was a child. So that was the last thing on my mind.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I actually share a similar childhood dream. When my grandpa would take loads of things to the dump, I wanted to be the guy that drove the bulldozer at the dump to push
That's pretty
things
cool,
around.
isn't
So
it?
it sounds like a great job to me. Well, Mike, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for taking time out to tell everyone a little bit more about yourself and about the board at Midland. And just a reminder again, if anybody wants to check out some of Mike's music, the link to the YouTube page and the web address will be in the description of this. And if you see Mike around on campus, he's here, like I said, for most of our special events. We'd encourage you to stop and say hi. And Mike, thank you for your service on the board over the past 6 years. And it sounds like you're stuck with us for the next 3. So thank you for continuing to support us each and every day.
You bet. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's just great to see this organization continue to grow and serve more and more seniors. And, talking to a number of them, especially those that a couple I met recently from Emporia, they just rave about how great the program is. It's a game changer for improving their lives. So I think it's wonderful what everyone does.
Well, thanks again. And thank you to everybody that's tuned in, and we will talk to you next time.
All right. Thank you.